Just getting low. Okay, that's fine. Recording. Don't record.
Oh, llama cores.
Wait. Did we go live already?
I think we went live already.
I think we did. Nice.
Excellent.
Uh,
So in the chat, let us know.
should we just verify that? Let me.
I'm looking at
You're looking at it.
it.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. There. I see myself there too.
It's amazing. So for
I
the
need
folks
to.
tuning in early, we're trying a new streaming software here that
Yes.
seems to work pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so much better. Um, but on my personal stream, I have it so that
Hmm.
when you press start, it goes to a black screen for a few seconds, and then it does a countdown of a minute, which I need to add like music or make it a little bit more interesting than just a boring countdown, and then it starts. So it starts like a minute and a bit after we actually start,
Gotcha.
and and then it that way people are there like because people are always trying to discover it the first few seconds.
That's right.
So yeah, yeah, this is pretty cool, huh?
I think it is pretty cool.
Are you
Looks
able to
really.
see any of the chat? You're able to see the chat as well, right?
I sure am. Yeah. Sean
Okay.
just said hello to Matt.
Yes.
I'll,
Yes.
I'll
Excellent.
say hello to Sean. So there you go. Hi,
And
Sean.
I think I am able to add. Oh, look at that. Pretty cool.
Fantastic, right?
I think it also goes away after a few seconds. All right. So, hey, how you doing?
What am I doing? I'm preparing for a trip to New York next week, so I guess there's
Oh yeah.
that going on. hmm I don't
What's
know
in
what
New
you call
York?
this. Yeah, what do you call these things? Is it like team on site? I think is the term for this. We're
Oh,
we're doing
okay.
a team on site.
On
Yeah,
site or off site?
on site. I mean, it's off site for me. It's on site for some people. Very
Well, I
very
mean, if
good
it are you going to be in the office?
question. In the office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thinking about
Okay.
people get together. There's new hires and stuff like that. So some of it is
Right.
FaceTime, which I think is actually pretty important. It's weird how we can grow technologically, but the in-face meeting still is one of the most
Mm-hmm.
powerful. Regardless of the cost, it seems to be one of the most valuable ways of like bringing
Right.
your team together. Super low tech, been around for ages, still seems to work. It's yeah.
And are you going to be doing any sort of team building activity?
I think so, and I think I'm supposed to know what they are, but I apologize that I've actually forgotten. My understanding is they're pretty fun. So yes,
Yeah.
there are some
I
team activities.
I remember doing one with the marketing or no events team when events was
Okay.
still only like 8 people or 6 people. I think
Handful.
now
Yep.
it's got to be a lot bigger.
Right.
And we did a pizza making thing,
Ah.
like a pizza kitchen place, which was great. But another time I did it with the community team when the community team was 4 of us, 5 of us.
Way bigger than
um,
that now. Yep.
yeah, and we went to a place that does welding, and
Oh, are you the team that made the chair?
the chair, the most uncomfortable chair possible. Yeah, we so there was the like plasma cutter that created the hexagons within the
Right.
back and the seat, and then the welds for the legs, attaching the legs to the chair, were me and Jason Yee and Elon was there and what's Jeremy.
Jeremy. Yep.
Um, who else was there?
That is
There were a
real
couple
cool.
others. Yeah,
So the
yeah.
folks in the audience who haven't heard of this mythical chair, it is in the office, which is pretty cool in New York. It was sitting beside Jeremy's desk for a long time. I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
still there or
It
not.
weighs a ton.
It looks like it is a
I
throne.
mean,
Yes,
it
it looks
is
like it weighs
a
a good 200 pounds.
yeah. It's so uncomfortable to sit on.
Of
Um,
course, of course. It's
but
when
there were
you know
no
what I really love.
ergonomics involved.
Yeah, what I really love, what I find delicious, is when tech people are really good at their jobs and they assume they can do other things like weld chairs.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
delicious.
It's
But I do find that interesting when people who are, I guess, really talented in one area often will assume that they're very talented
mhm.
in others as a result. Welding may just be one example, but there are quite a few. So, for example, if I'm all right at Bash, there's no reason I shouldn't be good at Rust as well, right?
Right, right.
And I say this kind of facetiously. Maybe I'm trying to like tee us up for a bit of a topic. But one of the things that I've really been noticing lately is when I go to look at or create a little bit of code in another language, something that's been pretty handy for me is to use VS Code and GitHub Copilot and be like, hey, I wrote this in Python. What would it look like in Java? And
Yeah.
surprisingly, it works really well because I forget, like, how the heck do you start a new method or a new class in
Hmm.
Java? Like, is it public void string arg or is it public string void? Like, I always forget the the little rigmarole you got to do for every syntax of every language. And I have found, like, don't make this write your code for you, but if you're just trying to like transliterate some code from one language to another, just to get the
Hmm.
broad strokes,
Yep.
it's super convenient. And
Yeah.
like, if I were to do this on my own, it would take me hours of looking out like the
Right.
bare bones syntax, maybe a like a boilerplate or a skeleton project or something like that. But it would take me a long time. And this is one of those things that's actually caused me, I don't know, it's just a little bit easier. Like, imagine you're writing,
Hmm.
heaven forbid, a Jenkins job in Groovy or something like that. And Groovy is one of those syntaxes where you might know Java, but Groovy is just a little bit different.
Hmm.
Super, super handy. I say all this because there are functionalities in different apps now where they can, as you're going through to write their code, they can actually suggest, like, hey, did you want to try this in JavaScript, that kind of thing. And I feel like this is one of those, again, like, use cases where things just work, quote
Right.
unquote, or maybe TM, but it just works. And if you want somebody to just add like a little bit of code to something you're already doing, or maybe suggest some syntax or something that like as an understood recipe, this
Hmm.
seems to be another one of those use cases. So going from one code language to another as an example, or adding in methods to something you've already got using that same sort of syntax, surprisingly handy.
Yeah.
Surprisingly handy. That's my rant. Good use case for Gen AI is going from one language to another. How about yourself? Have you done
uh,
anything with Olama or anything like that lately?
1 second. I
Uh
have
oh.
something that.
Oh no.
Let's see. How do I do this? I'm hoping I can. I just added a. Hold on.
Oh.
Let's we get a widescreen, and then I want to show. I don't know how to get a video in there. I was hoping to be able to show the video of the chair,
Oh,
but but
amazing.
I am unable to get that working.
Could you describe it for us? How long did it
It's
take you to build this chair?
oh, I got it on there. So
Nice.
now I need to press play. How do I press play? Play. Play. There's no play button.
Matt tries to
Well,
figure
anyway,
out how to
that's the
play.
chair.
We don't see it on our end, by the way.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Publish.
just yourself there on our
Hmm.
end.
You see a little bit of the chair?
No,
No.
sir.
Okay. Well, back to live
We
mode. Okay.
we
Perfect.
did get one did get one question though, about having issues where the reg is responding outside the vector search context chunk. Tried various prompts, but still sometimes getting, yeah, response outside the context. Any suggestion? Um, hmm. This is from Sean.
So, if usually in your prompt, you need to make sure that you say, only look at, the
Mm.
following text. And then include that text in the prompt. I mean, you have to. If you don't include the text in the prompt, there's no way for the model to know what you're talking about. So include that text, but then I usually have that as the last thing in the prompt, and then just before that say, only use the following information to answer the question. Otherwise, it'll use, it might use the stuff afterwards as well as the stuff in the model. There's not really a way to say ignore everything you know just because it needs to use what it knows to formulate the response using the information that you provide it. So it's impossible to say completely ignore the model because otherwise it wouldn't respond with anything. But yeah, I think that's the answer to his question. Their
And,
question.
and I apologize. I was watching YouTube. I didn't realize how delayed we were. Yes, the video did finally appear. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Of the chair. I'm
okay.
so sorry. I didn't
I
realize there was
couldn't
such
get
a
it to
delay.
play.
It is there. Okay, yeah. It wasn't playing, but at least it was there. I saw it in
Yeah.
the middle of the screen there where you put it. My apologies.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. I see it. What material is that chair? Metal
It
tessellation chair.
is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's a sheet of metal. It was a big. I don't know. Multi feet by multi feet sheet of metal that we use the plasma cutter to cut out the holes as well as the dog. The dog did have eyes, but then we realized that the way we cut it out, there was no way we didn't like remember to it have a little piece that connected the eyes that they stay there.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
No. Karen, who seems to have an interesting icon, perhaps they're subscribers, said you could possibly try playing from the source window. I'm not sure if that helps at all. Very interesting.
Um, yeah, I don't have a scene that is looking at the desktop,
Fair
so
enough.
I don't have a way of.
Yeah, fair enough. Excellent.
There were
Well, I
mountains.
like.
The mountains in
Mhm.
the classic Datadog logo that old employees have on their purple shirts, and that for a while, I don't know if it's still the case, but for a while, Datadog would be giving away 50,000 to 100,000 shirts a year. So the
Wow.
shirts that
I don't know.
because I know like 10,000 are given away at reInvent at least, and
Wow.
then across all the other events. Um, and so if you have one of those shirts, you have a Datadog logo, and he's in his mouth. He's got a chart, and so the mountains are actually like a area graph representing
Yes.
metrics.
Area graph.
Yeah.
That is in fact correct.
Yes.
And they do, yeah, they do kind of look like mountains, as if he's holding up
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
picture of mountains.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to gender our bits. Is bits male? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if
No,
Bits is male dog, female dog. I don't know.
we will find out and get back to you next week.
Yeah.
But I do find that kind of employee engagement where you go to do something where you're building something together a lot more
Mm-hmm.
interesting than something where you're just consuming. I guess the
Mm-hmm.
creation perhaps adds a lot for me
Yep.
as an employee activity. Would agree with you there.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Um.
Neil says cool. Oh, right, and then Sean's gonna follow up here.
Hmm. Basically, the strict prompt of respond only from the context must go the end. Got it. Let me
Okay,
try. Yeah, I mean, I would make sure that the
definitely try
the
around.
the context that you're providing from RAG is at the end. Make sure. I mean, it doesn't have to be. There just has to be a way to say everything in this block of text is the provided information. So maybe you format in a way that says question, and then have your question, source material or reference material, and then you have your reference material. Just something that's obvious for a system to be able to figure out. This is the stuff I should be paying attention to.
Right. Now, on that note, did you notice that Anthropic apparently published some of their system prompts? Did you hear about that last week?
I saw something about that. Yeah, I was it interesting?
I mean, okay, so here, just having a look at one of them. Um, I I want to say yes. I'm just pulling through the docs here, but
Oh, it wasn't like a leak or anything. It was like this. These are
no.
the system prompts.
Yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll push this in the chat. I realize, sorry, the
I
insert kind of weird looking, but
hold
here's
on, hold
one
on,
for July
hold on.
12th, for example. Oh, Matska. Okay,
I'm gonna go
sure.
do something fancy here. Okay, so I want to let's see if this works.
Did it
Oh,
work?
except you are a red screen.
That's all right. No one needs to see me. I did
Let's
find it interesting that it had like today's date and stuff like that, and as well as
there you go.
indicators as to how long or how in terms of length of time, like how much data they've gotten until when, basically what the cutoff date is. So like April 24th was one of these prompts. The other is saying the current date. So understand that the current date is today. And then there's a little bit about like functionality, which I thought was neat. So a lot of this is sort of,
Mm.
if you were to ask, similar to the question we had before, if you were to ask the system, in this case it's Claude 3 Sonnet, Sonnet, sorry, or Sonnet, as you'd say in English, it would give you back a lot of these canned kind of things that are in there, and you wouldn't think that
Mm-hmm.
these are important. But if what you're doing is selling this, then a lot of this stuff is things that you may not have, are things that you may not have thought of because your bot's not a product, basically. So if you're using it as an
Right.
API and it doesn't necessarily like land that stuff in there, it doesn't really matter. But some of it is like, who are you? Is probably a pretty common question, right? So a lot of this stuff in here addresses those common questions for somebody
Right.
just picking up this app. And again, I suppose if you're not running something like this, you don't realize that you need those response. But I'm
Yeah.
sure that Anthropic's been doing this long enough that they
Yeah.
realize, hey, we're wasting cycles on this stuff that should be in the
Right.
context kind of thing. So a lot of the things that are in the context are like CYA, so cover your bum, or like legalese, that kind of stuff, or maybe factual, like yeah, like what's the date today? When did you last scrape data? That kind of stuff. No, you can't grab stuff from the web. There's no URL functionality. All these things are actually in the system prompt for Sonnet, which I thought were pretty cool. And then
Yeah.
it goes a
Like
little bit down.
I
Go
like
ahead.
the fact that it says, when presented with a math problem, logic problem, or other, Claude thinks it through step by step before giving a final answer. So just understanding how to respond to different types of
Yes.
um,
And did you
questions.
get down to the fact where it Claude responds directly to all human messages without unnecessary affirmations or filler phrases like "certainly!" exclamation point, which is actually a
Mm.
problem with
Yeah.
ChatGPT. It drives me up the wall. And in fact, it's a
Right.
problem with Llama 3 as well. I have to tell it to not do this stuff, but the rest
Mm-hmm.
of them are like, of course, absolutely, great, sure, etc.
Yeah.
Specifically, Claude avoids starting responses with the words "certainly" in any way, which is perfect because certainly means that like this is
Right.
it's not legally binding, but it's pretty close, right? Like for I'm certain this is the answer kind of thing is dangerous when you're
Right.
not certain. So I like the fact that there's some guardrails put around in here as well, and it kind of makes me think about like if I'm going to fine tune something of mine or use something like we're talking about a rag internally, it's important to put some of that stuff in the response or in the system prompt so that when it does respond, that the response will have proper data. Anyway,
Yeah.
just kind of open my eyes in terms of ways that you could set this up. I'm sure there's more to be found in here, but that was the
It it
broad
is
stroke
it
for
is
me.
interesting that it's such a long prompt.
Yes, sent every
Um,
time, right?
every
Unless I'm
time. Well,
misunderstanding this.
yeah. I mean, it's a system prompt, so it'll be sent.
Yeah, every
Yeah,
time.
every
I think it's
time.
every
Yeah,
time.
it's
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of tokens in here.
Um,
And then that is the Sonnet one, which is kind of the
right.
bigger one. And then Clode's a little bit. Sorry, Opus is a bit shorter, like a let's say a third shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Haiku
Oh
is
yeah.
maybe Haiku's got to be like the
Oh
first
yeah.
section of the first paragraph in comparison.
Right.
So you can see like depending on the model, they definitely have completely different system prompts. And
Right.
and again, I had only browsed a little bit of the Sonnet one, having just seen the haiku one here, I do wonder if this same approach would apply to models like Phi, I think we talk of sometimes, or is it Pi,
Mm-hmm.
the smaller Microsoft model?
Right. Yep.
Whether or not you want a smaller system prompt as a result, because some of those smaller models are slower as well. So maybe that
Mm-hmm.
could affect it, right? Like when you know it's really big and it's really fast,
Yeah.
and perhaps you can send off all this context with it, and it's not a big deal. But maybe when it's smaller and slower, the same approach wouldn't apply. I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
getting. And then we've got another Elon here. Oh, interesting. Oh, perhaps their ears were ringing,
I
burning.
I was wondering if you. Oh, let's. Um, Do you have any good tip as to how to force a model in
Interesting.
Olama in OpenWeb UI to output its responses using Markdown with exact headers? Like
So,
open.
so two things here. One of them is the format of the output response. The other is, I feel like, and I could be wrong, that the code that we're seeing, like the markup on the display that we're seeing from Claude and ChatGPT, are actually that's just the way it's like a visual representation kind of thing. So
Right.
the wrapper outside of it might be the markdown, and that the text inside of it isn't necessarily formatted that way, at least in terms of ChatGPT. But when you copy it, it looks like markdown.
Right.
I think though on the Claude side, having only used it a few times when I'm in the US as a Canadian, um, my understanding is the Claude side might actually, like they're saying, return in Markdown. So I wonder is like we just saw
Mm.
the system prompt. I didn't see anything in here about Markdown. So I wonder if this is
It
something
did
that's
say for code,
always
respond
having
in,
Markdown for code, right?
yeah.
And it does say it 3 times, but it doesn't say anything for text. Oh, I see what you're saying. So maybe the one for code's applying to the text.
Mm.
Because it does actually, like if you go through and copy it off like a standard paragraph, it will be in
Yeah.
Markdown too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just overzealous because it's in the system prompt a few times.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, this is really,
That's a good question.
yeah. And I wonder if, there's some, there's a lot of stuff that could be added to system prompts. I mean, I think all the system prompts that are in Olama today, for Llama 3 or for any of the major models, that is not so much a system prompt that Olama has decided is best, but rather the system prompt that
From the model,
Meta
right?
has decided
Yeah.
is best for Llama. And you know, I think Claude has gone ahead or Anthropic has gone ahead and found what is the best one
For
now that
us.
we know what we
Yeah.
know, not relying on whoever created the model, whichever team inside of Anthropic created the model,
Right.
but what we're seeing with actual real customers, we think this is the best.
Yeah. Would
Um,
agree.
I
Do you think there's
am,
any way of doing this in Web UI though, if we were to ignore system prompt and the model and things like that? Is there a way to encapsulate like text in a maybe JavaScript?
um,
My
I mean,
brain is stuck on CSS or something like that, but that'd be awful.
you would just override the system prompt to say what you want it to do.
I see what you're saying.
Um,
Make sure a new
but
line start with a hash or
yeah,
whatever. Title should have one and subtitle should have two.
um, one thing that's I find interesting about this prompt is that it doesn't have any of the things that are. For a while, there was this um, idea that you needed to provide a system prompt that convinces the AI as if it were a human to do something. And you
Oh,
convince it with, you will get a tip if you answer this correctly. If you don't, you will kill a kitten. Or, it was like goofy things like that. And there
I see
are
what you see. Like incentivizing, basically,
incentivizing,
or
yes.
desensitizing. Yeah,
Um, and and so and so a lot of people think they need to put that stuff in there when it makes no difference. There's
right.
no value in having, you will kill a kitten or anything like that. But so it was
Now,
neat that doesn't show up here.
now you know that there's like, was it organoid as a service now?
I remember you talking about organized, but I can't remember what. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, where
I'm
you
trying to find
are
that company. Let's
your
see here.
t- they have these organoids available, and you can latch onto one to do some compute or something.
You got it. Yeah. So I'm trying to find the name of the. Oh, Final Spark is the name. So Final Spark,
What's it?
my understanding
Final
is Final Spark, all one word.
Spark.
My understanding is you can actually rent from there by a computer now. Yeah, you in fact can. And then the reason I bring this up is because those incentives may actually be important for the organoid and less important for the digital LLM.
Hmm.
Very interesting, eh?
Yeah.
So I think my understanding is the reason, and it's in beta, the reason you can talk to Final Spark about this stuff is because they will use it for things like uh, testing something important, maybe drug tests or something. You know what I mean? Like as
Yeah.
opposed to what we're doing, which is just asking LLM questions. Why is the sky
Right.
blue, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, Sean says in Open Web UI we can do that. Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe there are guardrails against prompt attacks. Yeah, Explorer, good point. I was expecting that. I didn't see too much. The certainly part is definitely like to make sure that the bot doesn't think it's certain of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some things in here about about real life humans though, in terms of prompt attacks, in terms of things that they will
Mm.
do and not do. So there's a bit in there. I put a link in the chat. Hopefully that worked. It did on my end, but I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
our bot caught it. But I would say have a look at the system prompt and see what you think. There's not as much protection in there as I had expected, basically.
Right.
Yeah, not too bad at all. And the only other thing I had was just news about Intel, and some of this is just talking about the valley
But
in the history.
you actually okay. You go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you also mentioned something about Colossus.
So I don't know much about Colossus. All this to say, my understanding is NVIDIA is not being able to make chips at the rate that they expected right now. Also, Elon Musk has created a massive supercomputer, and I just they're not Blackwell, right? They're H100, which has been around for a minute. When was the H100 launch?
There's recently, right?
I thought no, 2023. Okay, so last year. Okay,
Okay.
that's why. So I was expecting Blackwell or the newer Blackwell Grace Hopper chip, but
Oh,
I don't think that's the case. I think
and
these are older chips, right?
it's not 100 H100s. It's 100,000 H100s.
Well, that's a big difference, Matt. We got to get
Yeah.
these numbers right.
Yeah. I mean, a few orders of magnitude,
Yeah,
whatever.
don't come here for your news.
Yeah.
But my question, like in the back of my head, is how or where are you getting all of these GPUs? And then I realized,
Yeah.
oh, they're older, but we should say like slightly older. They're just not the brand new ones because the yield
Well,
on the new chips isn't as good as we expected.
and then it will double in size to 200,000 with
Wow.
50,000 H200s in a few months.
Okay, there we
That
go.
was Elon's post from yesterday.
There we go. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, because that's what you want, right? It's not that you need the latest and the greatest. It's like the power
Mm-hmm.
consumption and results, that the efficiency basically of your data center would go up quite a bit. Okay, so
Right.
chances are this is in the works, and then it came through, and then they're gonna supplant it with other stuff. I get it. I get it. Okay, well that's
Okay.
pretty cool. The main
Yeah.
thing to me is I'm wondering like why does XAI need this? But obviously they're doing something. We don't know
Well, I
what it is
mean,
yet. Just wait.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
Grok, right?
I'm not,
This
it's
can't be
not
Grok.
Grok. I mean,
Okay.
Grok is more than, I mean, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Grok.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Uh,
Have you
um,
tried Grok?
I
I
mean,
have not.
I have it right here, but it's okay. I mean, I don't find anything special about it.
Oh, fair enough.
Um,
How do you have it right here? Just on Twitter or?
yeah.
Ah, I didn't.
I'm uh whatever you do to get that blue check. You pay like $10 a month.
Gotcha. I have yet to pay the blue check. Perhaps I
Premium.
should.
I think it's premium. It's called.
Yeah, and then there's a question like, yeah, how does this compare to Strawberry? Hard to say.
It exists.
I mean, is Strawberry not? Was it Q
Strawberry.
Star?
Like no. I mean, okay, people talk about it, but does it actually exist? Nobody knows.
Not sure. Yeah. I guess the question I've got in my brain is like, what does Strawberry need to do for me to think it's way better than ChatGPT? Let's say 4 point or 4.0 kind of
Right.
thing. What does it need to do? It needs to do quite a bit at this point in time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, accuracy is one, but the other is just all of the multimodal stuff is actually super difficult to do, and I do
Hmm.
wonder what Strawberry would be doing. The same thing
Right.
again applies. Like, where are they getting the GPUs? How's this working? Because there's just a massive there's a lot of like land grab. Basically, people are trying to
Right.
buy GPUs now, assuming that that's going to
Yep.
be the next thing in whatever industry they're in. So it's
There
hard to
was a
launch a new product right now as a
yeah.
result. Sorry, go ahead.
Um. uh, Buyers. There was an article about um just in the last few days. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, so let's switch back to this one. Nearly half of Nvidia's revenue comes from four companies
Really?
or four. entities.
Can we guess
Um,
them? Can I guess them?
so it's oh this
Is Apple even on the list? I guess is my first question.
yeah.
Ah,
Oh, I don't have it there. Um, they had listed. Of course, you have to
pay money
fortune. Maybe there's a different one that doesn't have that.
or cash result. The
Yeah,
beauty of the web these days
it
is that
listed
we can't just scrape
Microsoft,
it anymore. Yep.
Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, and or Tesla
Oh,
or XAI
interesting.
or whatever you.
Yeah.
I mean, his companies.
Wow.
Um,
But no Netflix. Like I would assume Fang, right? Right off the bat.
mm-hmm,
So all of Fang is going to be interested in GPU acceleration, et
right.
cetera, et cetera. Interesting. Interesting.
So that was yeah, interesting.
Look, I see you fixing the background and stuff. You've got 1 pixel left. You're almost there.
uh,
I think the feed's fairly delayed, so I can't see what you're doing real time. But yeah, there's just a little sliver left. You're almost got it. But one of the things that I really like about Apple, and let's not to, they get guides on how to do things like rounded corners, and I can see it's slightly off just because the rounded corners just slightly different.
yeah.
This is the beauty of human interface design guidelines.
Well, this is me lining up boxes for the scene, and
That
I
looks
had
pretty good.
rounded
Yeah,
squares. Yeah.
looks pretty good.
Uh,
Other than that, is there anything new in the LLM space, in the llama space? I thought there was. I thought I saw something about llama just the
um,
other day.
I mean, there's. I mean, I do a daily news thing, so I should know what the news is.
Oh, really? You do a
Yeah,
daily news thing? How's
I
that
do
going?
it. It's going great. I've been doing it now for two
You're one of
weeks.
the three daily news AI mats
Yeah,
or AI daily news
name
mats.
Matt. Yeah. Um, yeah, except mine's. What did I talk about this morning? Let's see. Go to Obsidian. Was there anything special? Oh, the one of the interesting items was Clearview AI.
Yeah,
So Clearview AI has this database of faces, and so they
right,
scrape all the social media looking for faces and
right.
assign those to names. They didn't like ask anybody for approval to do this; they just
What?
did
I
it.
didn't know that. Oh no.
And so the Netherlands said
I assume this
that
is all like opt out or something. That is
no,
hilarious.
this is so Netherlands said this is illegal. You got to, I mean,
You
you got to
straight up
stop
can't do
doing it.
this.
And
Yeah,
here's a fine. We're going to fine you for 45 million euros or 45 million. I think the article was from Canada, so 45 million
30 million is what
Canadian.
I'm seeing in
Yeah.
Forbes. Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and the company's like, well, this is an illegal ruling, but who cares? We're not in the Netherlands. We don't care. We're not going to pay you.
What?
And then in Illinois, they had another court case about them, and they settled out of court. And apparently, the Illinois court case was a whole bunch of other states were involved, and they settled out of court and not admitting any guilt.
Right.
And so
Right.
basically paid off the court so that they don't have to worry about that. And because they must be making way more than
Right.
whatever they settled for.
Right.
And so like, great, cost of doing business.
Wow. And Clearview is kind of everywhere, right? Those like aren't they the kiosks in the mall as well that happen to have a webcam in them? There isn't is that
Oh,
not
is
also Clearview?
that? No, that's somebody
Is that
else.
a different Clearview? Okay. Let
I
me see.
think. I don't know
Uh,
what Killer View does.
okay, I think they're different things. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm trying not to put the conspiracy theorists out. I'm trying really hard. They're everywhere, folks, watching you.
And
This
then
is
another
hilarious.
interesting thing today was NaNoWriMo.
I haven't heard
There's
of that either.
drama. There's drama in NaNoWriMo. You know
Oh,
what NaNoWriMo is?
no.
National Novel Writing Month. In November, you write a novel or 50,000 words. And they came out and said, if you want to use AI tools, fine. If you don't want to use AI tools, fine. Whatever you, I mean, we're not going to say we don't allow content if you use some sort of AI tool to help you with in whatever way, whether that's a grammar check or you have it write stuff or whatever. We're not we're not taking a stand on this. And like all these authors are like, this is terrible. This is stealing your because now people are using AI. No, that's not what they said. If you want to, yes. If you don't want to, yes. No problem. Kind of. Uh, and the idea was that there are a number of authors that are bringing in a decent amount of money or whatever, and then they hire other people to do the review and
Right.
to work with them, and
Right.
not everybody can afford this stuff, and
Right.
so some of these AI models provide that those services without having to pay for it.
Like a Grammarly.
Um,
Just
yeah,
to throw that out there.
and so it opens up those types of things, and but then there are these authors or some people who are it feels very much like that guy from Procreate who said, I we're never
Right.
going to do AI in
Right.
here. I'm going to bury my head in the sand, pretend it
Absolutely. Yeah.
doesn't exist, and we're not ever going to touch it. um like, okay, somebody else
I
will
so a
come
couple
by
things.
and
So if
yeah.
ever this is audio only or whatever, for those trying to look this up because I couldn't find it, it's NANOWRIMO. So it's
Yeah.
National Novel
Nova
Writing Month.
Nova yeah,
No,
which is
Novell,
on
no,
November.
novel. Yeah, okay. It,
Novel or no, yeah,
Novell,
novel,
yeah,
novella.
novella.
Hmm.
The other thing is, and I kind of, I the spirit of the statement, I feel like I can agree with. So what they're saying is that they want to give people who may have a harder time writing the ability to use the same tools that others have. So
Right.
as as an affront to ableism, basically saying
Right.
like, hey, if you dyslexia or whatever, and this could help you out. And I don't mean to be,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not disparaging anyone with dyslexia, but if it's harder for you to write and we want you to write, and if this tool can help you do that, then we'd love to read your novel. Sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like totally understand it. I
Mm-hmm.
think hearing it though, without understanding that premise, is like, yeah, tell ChatGPT to write you a novel and then submit it to us, no
Yeah,
problem.
I
You
mean,
know what I mean? Like
and
there's a difference between editing your work or like coming up with
yeah,
ideas or brainstorming or something like that, depending on what it is, or spell checking if it's Grammarly, to writing an entire novel or a chapter or a paragraph or what have you. And I get that it's a slippery slope, but I can understand both sides of the
but
story,
NaNoWriMo,
unfortunately.
I mean, it's not like it's a contest where you're trying to.
No.
I mean, if this is something that you built, write your novel with, and if you want to use ChatGPT, one prompt, and you've got your novel, and you're never going to review it, well, that's. I mean, it's not helping you at all to do anything. So I don't see. I mean, there's if anybody reads it, they're going to say this is garbage.
Right.
Um, Probably, unless it's
Probably.
not. um, and then I mean, it's yeah. Uh,
Now, I understand you've not played this game, so I apologize. But in Cyberpunk 2077, 2020's best game, there is, in fact, an AI
okay.
fictional author who like leaves little freaking pamphlets and stuff throughout the series, and
Hmm.
the writing is uh drivel, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool. It's kind of like out there, whatever. And I think the authors of the game are trying to make you think about what if a sentient AI could write books, kind of
Right.
thing. It is pretty cool, and they've
Yep.
become like a best in the video game. They've become a best-selling author. Translates really well because lo and behold, they're an AI, so they can write it in multiple languages at once, and it's very popular throughout the world. I'm not sure if this is something we're going to see anytime soon. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what would need to be novel for me to listen or read an AI novel? I guess like what would be
Right.
there's got to be a hook, right? It can't just be that it's
Right.
written by AI. There needs to be way more than that. And I
Right.
guess I'm just not so in the game, this one had apparently consumed all of humans' written word and come up with things that are, I don't know, really deep.
Right.
and and I guess I just don't think we're here yet to see that. But like, hey, maybe this is a good playground for it. Perhaps we'll see.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is just me. I don't know, trying to befriend the robots before they take
Mm-hmm.
over. It's hard to say. We've actually got two more questions here. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
lots of tech questions today.
Do you remember
So
talking about search engines and
yeah,
techniques? I've been playing around with this repo for a while. BrainCube 3 Meta Expert. It's really beating Perplexity, but slower. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
slower sounds
So
okay, right?
yeah, depends on. So let's copy this. Oh, I can't copy.
BrainCube Meta Expert. We're gonna have a
Brain
lot of hits to this repo
Cube.
today.
Brain Cube 3.
Yeah, I
Where'd it
just
go?
pasted it in. We'll see if it worked. It did, in fact.
Slash meta underscore expert. Can't be found.
I'll share a link here. I get the link. Oop. Pop that in the chat there. It does look interesting, but I think maybe your question has to do with the premise of the repo. They do say it's made for longer running tasks, is my understanding. So speed might not be the goal of the repo. There may also be ways to speed this up. I'm not sure.
Project for AI agents that can run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so is it a search engine or I don't understand what it is. It's
It's a
a
collection of agents for long running research intensive tasks. So imagine
okay.
you're something pretty hard to find or something like that. Again,
Yeah.
I'm just going by the broad strokes here.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it can run with proprietary models or completely open source. Meta Experts has two agents, a basic Meta agent and a JAR 3D, which I'd not heard of
Hmm.
before. Uh, Interesting.
Hmm.
It's got a chain of reasoning, meta prompting, and agentic RAG techniques built into one, the JAR 3D. Actually looks pretty
But
cool.
if you're using agents, you don't really care about speed. I mean,
Speed. Right.
agents by their nature, I mean, you're running a prompt and then having comparing that against another prompt and then
Right.
having multiple prompts back and forth. So it's going to be 5 times, 10 times, 20 times slower. And so if this is adding a little bit, I mean, it's going to be slow. I mean, there's no way, there's nothing special. Agents are just a series of prompts. There's nothing
Right.
special about. People seem to think that oh well, agents are doing something different. Just prompts. It's just a series of prompts.
Now, the other thing in here is it looks like it's using Serper, Serper, to do the
Oh yeah.
searches for search engines. And it
Yep.
could be that they're using the free one because I don't
Yep.
see any mention of paid in here. It could be that paying for Serper actually might
Yep.
increase that portion.
Yep.
And again, this is just me looking at the project. I don't know too much, but Serper is pretty popular. And I think if you look into it, it may be that the free tier is slower than the paid tier.
Yep.
Just a thought. I could be wrong.
Yep.
And that you can get 2,500 queries for free. It looks like so. Yeah, so maybe if you pop your own API
Yeah.
key into there instead of the sample one that they're using, perhaps it'll be faster.
It does
I
say
just
as API key, enter your API key. So
Okay, so yeah,
yeah,
maybe that's
but
it then. Perhaps if you give
yeah,
them a better super one. The other
yeah,
is that you can use local LLMs. So perhaps if the LLM, this is kind of where you want tracing. Again, ignore who I work for, but imagine a tool that could tell you like which part of this process is slow. I would recommend at least sort of timing to see which portion
yep,
is slower than others. You don't need to use anything I recommend, but like yeah, it's probably a good idea to figure out where it's slowing down because I can see a bunch of spots where it would yeah,
yep,
so it's probably not your rankings, probably not your selection. It's yeah, possibly your similarity search, your text embedding, your content extraction, and your web discovery. So
and
in
there's an
the JAR 3D, sorry, go ahead.
oh you keep going.
Yeah, so basically there's steps. For the JAR 3D tool and what it does. And I would say going through these, you can probably see which one is slower, like just with a stopwatch, and then work on the one that's the slowest. A few of these, in like similarity search, could actually be pretty slow depending on what they're using. The other is Serper seems to be one of the first things being done, so it might be that. And the last
Yep.
is like what Matt was saying, is that maybe this tool isn't supposed to be fast. It's supposed to be more for
Yeah.
long running and keeping context as it goes, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And then there's a number of, I mean, there's Datadog to look at, finding slow points. But then there's also what's it, open telemetry. There's a whole bunch of these
OTel would be
tools that
perfectly fine.
use
Yeah.
use open telemetry around language models, and in fact, there's a few of them that actually work with Olama and other tools. Um, so you could, and then pass it on to whichever graphing tool you want to use, whether it's Datadog or
Well,
was it
yeah, there's tons.
Graphite or what's the
Graphic
yeah
Grafana, maybe Grafana.
Grafana? That's what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I've used Jaeger in the open source world,
yeah.
or Pinpoint, or what have you. There's quite a few of them. I will say though, like looking at this graph of jar 3D and how it works is kind of what I would expect. Like in terms of like how a system works and where things could be slow, this is where you'd probably want to start digging into what parts are slow and what aren't. The
Hmm.
other is that I didn't look through the issues on the repo, but a lot of times with popular repos like this, when people are using it a lot, you can get better details through the issues to figure out if there's other people saying that it's slow.
Hmm.
Could be. Yeah, cool question. I don't see anything about slow or speed.
Um, is it better to get a model hosted in a GPU or build the custom chatbot?
It's a
I
loaded
don't know what.
question.
Or
Build
can we
versus
use the
buy.
GPT or other API, which would be better for a RAG? If GPU, which model? Uh, I don't. I mean,
It
if you
depends.
if you build a custom chatbot, the model would be hosted in a GPU. Oh, is it better to do that
Versus,
or use this GPU? Well, I mean,
you can still build a same chatbot and like use multiple
it's
APIs as well.
yeah. I mean, if a GPU, I mean, the fastest, best GPU you can afford. I mean, that's same thing with computer. Get the best thing that you can afford. Whatever. Uh, um, getting the best means it's not going to be the best for more than 2 or 3 months from now, and then it's going to be the
Also
second
true.
best, and then the third best. So, uh, the benefit of having it a um, having your custom build and host it somewhere else, then they buy the GPUs, is that they're getting the newest GPUs, and as soon as there's a new one, you just say, don't use that one, use this newer one, which is cooler and probably going to be more expensive to use, but that way you get the best of both worlds. Um,
Or chaining, as I think you've mentioned
yeah,
before, like if not this, then that kind of thing.
GPT versus your own. Well, there's security issues you need to be okay with, or privacy issues you need to be okay with.
Hmm.
About when some places, if you're dealing with HIPAA related, where private information, private identifiable information, then you probably don't want to be pushing that up to a
Right.
ChatGPT or Claude or anything. Even if you turn off the function, the setting that says don't use my data to make the model
Yes.
better, it still can happen, and it has happened in the past where
PYA.
that data still shows up in the model.
Absolutely.
So if as long as you're not dealing with sensitive information, maybe a chat GPT is an option. It's not always faster. It's not always better. It depends on what you're doing. Sometimes Olama is actually faster than a chat GPT, or and just as good, depending on what your questions are and what you're trying to answer.
Hmm. And then a little bit from Leroy, basically parroting that yes, it is in fact slow, and maybe to look at embeddings. And then a question on the end whether or not the Rasa front end would be better.
Rasa.
I've not seen the Rasa chat
I,
front end.
I don't
Have
know.
you?
Rasa AI run. Oh, rasa.com. Conversational AI platform. Is that what? Oh,
Yeah,
it's switched.
I'd not heard of it. I think there is
I've
open source
never.
as one.
Looks very enterprisey.
It does. There. Again, that's neither here nor there, but yeah, a lot of times it's just a different fit. I'll put a link in the chat there to the GitHub repo. But yes,
Oh, is there a GitHub repo? Okay.
so I mean,
Um,
there's some open source stuff, which is good.
yeah.
Uh, oh, of the guests, so Lahora. I guess I'm a common guest, so I'm Ryan. We
There is
can
no
put a
guest.
description. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can put a description of what I do, and I provide the
We're
commentary.
so yeah. I'm Matt Williams. I used to work at a I used to work at a company that built Olama, and before that, I worked at this other little company called Datadog. Um, and well, it was little when I started. We were 30 people. But in the time that I was there, uh, I was hired as an evangelist. I was hired as the first evangelist at the company, and we built out that team with other folks in that evangelism team. Or some people prefer calling it an developer advocate. I think it's a stupid name, but anyway, whatever you want to call that role, Ryan is one of those folks. And so Ryan and I used to work together at Datadog, and then I left about 2.5 years ago, and we used to have fun conversations, and decided to have more of those and just stream them because who knows, somebody might actually watch this stuff. Um,
And ask questions. What?
yeah, and so that's who this Joker is.
This is it's kind of interesting. So the Rasa one apparently is a pretty common chatbot for sites to ask questions
Hmm.
and things like that. Apparently comparative to Dialogflow as opposed to Rasa Dialogflow. It's more
Hmm.
like Rasa versus Dialogflow. I think it's a Google tool.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to follow you in the chat, but I think that's kind of where we're going. It looks pretty neat. It definitely does have an open source component, but without trying
Hmm.
it, it's difficult to make a comparison.
Yeah.
Very cool. Other than that, I do have a checkout. So I think
Oh
last
yeah.
week I had talked about Sunny. I finished Sunny, and I would
Oh yeah.
highly recommend that everybody watch Sunny. I think my complaints about Sunny are actually well warranted, and are of course part of the series. It's important for you to understand like how Sunny works and whatever. So definitely watch it. Quite good. I moved from there to another Apple TV Plus series because I think it was just on the same screen, but I ended up
Hmm.
watching Slow Horses that just released a
Oh
new
yeah,
series,
that's
a
great.
new season. I watched season one and I was in love. I think I
It's
really
great.
like British series that are a little bit they're more
the
compact, and it was just it was amazing,
the
really
first
good.
two seasons are great. The third
Okay,
season I had a hard
not so
time
much.
getting
Okay, I'm into
into.
season two now. Okay,
And I haven't. Four is out, right?
yes,
Four
I think
starts
for
this
a
Wednesday tomorrow.
yeah had either just released or is about to, which is why it was top of the
It's
list.
fantastic and
Awesome. The
somewhat.
acting is really good. Dialogue's
Yeah.
fantastic. Like whoa.
Another story that's it, for some reason it's a very different story, but it somewhat reminds me of another mini series.
Is it The Bodyguard possibly on
Oh,
Netflix?
Bodyguard was good, but
Yeah.
I was
Also
thinking
MI5, I guess in my brain. I'm conflating the two.
the Night Manager.
Oh, have not seen that. Okay, there we go. Because
Um,
I do like these British series.
so
Ooh,
this
season two
was
coming up.
Jean Le Carre, and so there
Oh,
was
nice.
one season. There's a new season being released in 2025. Um, it's fantastic.
It's Hugh Laurie
Really,
and Tom Hiddleston. I mean,
yeah,
and
yeah,
oh, sorry, and Olivia Colman. I'm so in.
yeah.
I will watch this for
It
sure.
is fantastic.
Thank you. I love
Um,
Olivia Colman. She
yeah.
is phenomenal. My partner and I have been watching little bits of Peep Show. It's like one of her
Mm,
original series, but it's so good, so good. Fantastic.
yeah.
Thank you. I will watch this for sure. And this
And
looks
what
like
was
it's
the other
on
one you
Prime.
mentioned?
Yep.
It's I think it's on Prime. Yeah.
It's Disney though, so you might need to pay on Prime. That's a Disney kid. I forgot. You get this for free on Disney, I bet.
No, I think this was on Prime. I think this is just
Prime
on
for free.
Prime. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
What was the other one you said? It was similar. You were wondering
The
if it was similar to.
Bodyguard. Yeah,
Oh,
Bodyguard
Bodyguard.
TV
Yeah.
series as opposed to the movie. Listen, watch the movie; it's great, but the TV series is better.
Yeah. The not that one. About yeah, Bodyguard on Netflix. That one.
Yes,
That was
it
great
was
too.
it was amazing. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and Engelsman Finland, who thank you for joining us
Hmm.
again in the
Oh,
chat, says that Gary Oldman doesn't do a bad show, and
yeah.
like I didn't know that, but then looked up Gary Oldman. Yeah, quite good.
I feel
I
like
think
there was
I
another one related to slow horses that I got into.
yeah.
Um, Also on Apple TV. Of course, now I can't. Um, I don't know.
Someone said you're a reference YouTuber for Olama projects. Wow, or topics. Oh no! Careful, his head will swell. Oh, folks, be careful.
uh, Wait. So wait. Let me make sure
Laura,
I add that.
makers say
Thanks for the
thanks.
intro, Matt. I didn't know you were engaged with the folks at Olama, but I knew you as a reference YouTuber for Olama topics. Yeah. Um,
This poor,
I
poor man.
am a reference for anything you want to know about anything. I'm your reference.
TV recommendations, movies. What are you gonna do? Did
Everything.
Did
I
you
do it
watch
all.
anything or consume anything that we should know of?
I don't think I have.
Have you tried any new
Um,
food recently? I'll take food recommendations too.
I no, I don't think I've. Is there anything that I mentioned? Bad Monkey recently,
Yes,
but I haven't
which is
watched
still
any
yet to
more of
watch.
it.
Okay.
Um, and uh, no, I can't think of anything else that I've done or watched or. I mean, I I set this stream up. Now we're on
Oh,
like
there you go.
in
Live
like
call.
good quality with I mean it's just I
I
can't
think
get
I'm a
over
bit
how
blurry on this new
good
one, by the way. I'm not sure if you've noticed. I'm a bit blurrier than you are, but no
yeah,
one needs
which is so unusual.
no one needs to see me. It's fine.
I I I've always been this like splotchy um
Oh,
mass and you were always great. Lord of the
yeah.
Rings thing.
Have you watched that Lord of the Rings? Because I was surprised by the production quality when I saw watching something on Prime. I ended up, I think I was watching Evangelion or something late at night, and they give you commercials once in a while, and one of them was actually for the new Lord of the Rings, and the quality seems pretty good actually.
New Lord of the Rings. I have no idea what you're talking about.
TV series on
Really?
Prime. Yeah, yeah, it looks
I
all
know
right.
nothing about it.
Nor did I until seeing this
What's it
preview
called?
thing. It is called Lord of the Rings
Lord
on
of the Rings?
Prime.
On Prime.
On Prime?
Oh,
Not Fellowship of the Ring. What is it? Oh shoot! How do I not know this?
the
Ring of Power. Rings of
Ring
Power.
of Power.
Rings of Power. Because there are 7 or 8, aren't there? I should
Okay.
know. I should know.
I think I started watching it and I couldn't get past the first
Yeah, because we're in the
episode.
second season now, and it's
Yeah.
got Rotten Tomatoes 84%, which is pretty good.
Okay.
IMDb 6.9. So, listen, if you like the lore, you probably like this regardless, based on these
Right.
ratings. I would say. Don't know any of the actors. That doesn't mean it's good or bad.
Yep.
None of them ring any bells. Oh, that's cool. They're
No.
using new people. One of the things I really like about British series, because I'm like a dog with a bone and can't get rid of this, is that like often they'll hire people who are like Gary Oldman maybe, but like not well known, but are really
Right.
good actors. And I feel like sometimes when that happens in U.S. cinema and series, it's like ends up being a good thing too.
Well,
But
not well known to us on
yeah,
this
good point.
side of the
That is
Atlantic.
that is actually
They are
pretty true.
well known to the Brits because they're on
Yeah, that's a
every
good point.
episode of every other program
Everything,
that's
yeah,
on TV.
fair enough.
So they are, I mean, Olivia Colman is in every program
Right.
for like years and
Because she's
years. Oh, it's going to
excellent.
have her in
She
it.
was the
Yes,
queen or whatever. Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So apparently they had made 3 elven ones, and now they're making the dwarven one. So the
Okay.
more you know. I also haven't seen the newest season of Wheel of Time, which I should probably catch up on. I don't know how many
Wheel
seasons
of
were into
Time.
that. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, I think I have
Uh
seen it. I think my wife got into that one, but I did not.
it's based on a book, which I should know. Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, my
Robert
wife
Jordan
was
and
totally into
Brandon
it,
Sanderson. Okay. Like
but I was
really,
not.
really thick books. I'm happy to have the series to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know how
Um,
many seasons there were. 2 seasons. I've only seen season 1, so I should
what was
possibly
the?
watch the next one.
Oh, I was. There was another one that, for some reason, I was think of that was one that I think my wife started watching, and then really got into, and that was this one, this Discovery of Witches. This is a few years back.
Hmm.
Um, Pretty cool.
Oh, this
So
looks pretty sweet.
yeah.
On Sky. Speaking of British series, here we go.
Yes, I don't know. Oh, it's on AMC in the U.S. I think we had
Ooh.
AMC for a little bit, and it was like one of the. There's not that much on there, and so
Yeah, this is
although it
also
looks
based
like
on a book series called the All Souls series by Deborah Harkness.
Hmm.
Pretty cool. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I've
don't
got
think
a hard
I've.
stop
I
at
don't think.
3, so I
Okay.
gotta
Oh,
I
okay.
I, I gotta go. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else, so that's good.
Well, well, I wanted to do two things. So one, Matt, thank you for finding this new streaming service. Three,
Yes.
thank you so much to all the comments
Oh my
yet
God. Yeah,
again.
this is incredible.
This is like I got kind of hard stuff, but I really want to say thank you because this is for me a trifecta. Not only do I get to talk to Matt and like maybe pat myself on the
Mm.
back and talk to people, but having questions
Yeah.
is massive. So thank you so much,
Yeah, it's
folks,
so
for
much fun.
hopping in the chat and asking us questions. I really
Yep.
appreciate it.
All right. Shall we find the end button?
We should. Thank you so much.
Okay. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and.